Nick Durant here with Tattoo University. Today I'm going to show you how to line up your script on someone, and this way you can place your stencil correctly, or you can freehand some lettering on a person and make sure everything lines up and looks correct. And you can do this by placing some lines just like if you were writing on a piece of paper. Whenever you tattoo somebody, make sure that they are standing up comfortably. Every time I tell someone to stand up, they act like this, like they're a soldier or something, and they stiffen up, and you just tell them to like relax, kind of shake it out a little bit, just stand normal. And this way you can place a stencil on the person so that when they're just doing their day-to-day activities, kind of walking around, it looks correct and it looks level and in the right position. So if someone's sitting down and you place a stencil on them, or even tattoo them while they're sitting down, and then they stand up, you can see that the stencil or the tattoo will change positions, and it might not look good while the person's standing up. You really want your tattoo to look good when the person is kind of doing their normal activities, and for the most part that's standing up doing things. So have them stand up, shake it out, and just relax, and then you stick your stencil on it. One of the tricks to getting that tattoo stencil to look even is to add some lines, or you can even freehand your stencil on there before you start tattooing. And this way you can kind of eyeball things and check things out to make sure that everything looks correct. So let's say you're doing a pre-made stencil, and here is the person's arm. What you can do is actually place the stencil where you want it. You can even put a little tape if you want it to stay right there, keep it from moving around. And then you can put little marks on your stencil. This is the paper right here with your stencil on it. This is the person's skin. So you're going to put a little mark on the person's skin, and then a mark that lines up with that on your stencil paper. And you can do like some crosshairs here. That way, when you place that stencil on the person's arm, it's going to be in the same position. When you do this stencil, you're going to look at it and make sure that your letters line up correctly on the person's arm. Sometimes when you're right up on a tattoo or even a drawing, sometimes people draw like this and they're right up on their drawings. You can't really see it. So take a step back and take a look at it and see if it looks correct from a little bit of a distance. If you see people doing this all the time, they're checking out their drawings, or checking out their paintings, and maybe if you're that into it, you can check out somebody's tattoo like that. But they take a step back so they can see everything as a whole and make sure that that is lined up correctly. And if it's not, with the stencil, you have to come in. Let's say you place that stencil and it looks bad. You got to clean it off. You got to come in, you got to put another stencil on there. You got to hope that you get it level this time. Like, oh, maybe that one's off, you got to do it again. So an option you can do is to freehand the stencil. So if you freehand your stencil, that's going to get rid of that stencil that you put on and it's not quite right, so you got to clean it off and you got to put it on again. Beginning artist, you might want to stick to the stencils at first, but start pushing yourself to freehand your stencils, because you can make those adjustments as you go without wiping off your stencil and putting a new one on. What you want to do is take not a really dark marker like a Sharpie, but a lighter colored marker. Here's the person's arm again. Got a really weird looking bicep, and you can put a line right there and make sure that that looks, take a step back, make sure it looks level with the person standing normally. Does that look correct? And if you're going to line things up this way, you can put a little line going this way too. Kind of resembles crosshairs on a scope for a rifle or a gun. And with this, you can come in and use this for the placement of your stencil. When you put it in, you can lay it in there. You know, with like Mom, the O is in the center, so you place the O in the center, and the M is going to be on the outside, like that. So this is how you can line it up, by just placing with a marker on the person's skin some marks. So first thing I'm going to do is do as straight a line as possible across. Now I'm going to do several other lines that are going to help me place my stencil or help me freehand what I'm going to tattoo. Parallel lines are lines that go next to each other the same distance and they never touch. That is what we want. So with a lighter marker, because we might need to make adjustments, I'm going to make another line that is parallel. The same distance here as it is over here, that will never touch. Parallel. So we are just eyeballing this, and then I'm going to put a middle line that goes right in between the middle of these. And then I'm going to do a line right down the middle. There are my crosshairs again, so I'm going to line everything up. Now, we just eyeballed this to make sure this looked okay. Let me take a ruler here and just see how I did. I got about 8 inches on this side and about a little less than 8 inches on that side. So that's really not parallel, because if this went on and on and on, eventually it would touch, because this side is shorter. What we can do, we know this side is shorter, so these lines are not parallel. We just run a line and we adjust it just a little bit. If you're doing this on a person, you can use things like your fingers to see the distances. You can use maybe a pencil or whatever you need to kind of check your measurements on this. Just use something and you would just go, this side is the same as this side over here, and then this side is the same as this side. So what you're going to need to learn to kind of expect is someone's going to come in with their phone, or they're going to get on your computer and they're going to be like, this is the font I want right here. That's the only one I want, that one. So you're going to take that script and you're going to have to put it on your client. So now we have all our lines, we know where it's going to go, we know it's going to be all lined up. Now you have to worry about the placement of this script and making sure that it is centered. So in Mom we have 3 letters. So our middle mark is going to land right here. If it's an odd number of letters, it's always going to land in the middle of a letter. So with tacos here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So our middle mark is going to be right down the middle of this C. If we have an even number of letters, make sure I know when to stop there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, we are going to land in between two letters. So there's 8, we split that in half, that gives us 4. So now our middle is going to be between the 4 and the 5, like this, in the middle. With an odd amount of letters, you're going to land right in between a letter, like this. And that's how you make sure that your script is lined up and centered. So we're doing an easy one here, Mom. Our O is in the middle. We have an uppercase, that's what this line is for. And we have a lowercase. This line is for our big letters. This line is for our smaller letters. O is in the middle and it is a smaller letter. So we're going to only go to this line right here. And you can always adjust this line too. If you want it a little bit bigger, we just run a parallel line right next to that. And we take our letters up a little bit. With a lighter marker, I even use a yellow sometimes if I can see it on the person's skin. I start from the lightest marker and go to my darkest. I start freehanding these letters in here and getting a feel for how this is gonna look. I start putting in the guidelines for my letters. It's okay if I do more marks that I'm not going to use because I'm going to come back in and I'm going to fix this. So here's our initial free-handed script on there. And I'm going to have several different Sharpie markers going from lightest to darkest. I'm going to go in here and make the adjustments I need to make and eyeball it, make sure everything looks good. I like to kind of change things up a little bit so that it shows a little bit of my personality in my tattoos, a little bit of my style. So I'm going to come in here and I have my general outline. I'm going to start tweaking it a little bit. Now what we're going to look at, again we're using our measurements here. Our M doesn't go all the way up to this line, it just drops right below this line. So this M is lined up with this M because all the way across it is just right below that line right there. Now we wanted our lowercase letters to go a little up above the middle mark here. So we only have one lowercase letter, but it's a little bit above centered, right where we want it, we're okay. Now, our bottom line, everything lines up with the bottom line. If it doesn't, we just make our corrections. This is a lot higher than these over here, so if I were going to take a line and run it across there, parallel with this line, you would see that that's a lot higher. This tail ends right here, and this tail ends right here. If this tail goes way up here, it's going to be different. So we use that to eyeball where we need to make our changes. Sometimes what I do once I have this all done is I'll take a paper towel and I'll spray it with a little bit of alcohol. or a little bit of liquid water or something like that. And I'm not going to scrub this off, I just want to lighten it up a little bit. So I'm going to put it on there without rubbing and just pat it a little bit, just to take some of that off, so when I'm tattooing I can see better. You know, it's still going to stay on there, but it's just going to lighten it up a little bit. Now this is a mistake that a lot of you do. You're going to outline this because you don't want to lose your outline. So you come in here and you outline the whole thing. And then you come in and you fill it in. You try to go as solid as possible. You've outlined with a liner, but then you come in with your mag and fill this in. And what you're going to get a lot of the times is this gap in between your lines and where you filled in the color. So you've outlined this first, and then you come in and you fill this in. Now what you have is a dark outline, a solid middle. Now what you have is a really dark outline, and then you filled in the middle, but there's this space between your outline and where you filled in the color. Instead of looking solid and even, you have this blank space right there. Make sure you don't leave those holidays in there. Make sure there's not that gap right there. You can either take your mag and get right up to that edge, or you take your liner and come in, do nice little tight circles, and get all of that blank spot filled in so that everything is solid. You're not missing areas there. So that is how you can line up your stencil and make sure your stencil's centered and everything. So don't forget to check out our website, gotattooyou.com. I'm adding stuff to that daily, and if you want to help out the site, you can always go to Gawkbox and check out the Tattoo University profile. You can donate money, or you can play the games and they will donate money to us for free. So thank you for your help. I appreciate it, and keep watching.